Hello, I hope you all are doing good. So in this video, we'll deal with the integumentary system, which is actually a very simple and easy topic to learn. Okay, the integument or the skin forms the outer layer of the body, which acts as a partition between the internal and external environments of the body. Okay, so the skin is having many secretory and synthetic functions, because of which it is considered as an organ. And the skin protects our body or covers the body, and as it covers the whole body part, it is considered as the largest organ of the body. Okay, so the skin along with its appendages forms the integument, that is the cutaneous membrane, and its appendages together forms the integument. The total weight of the skin is about 3.5 kg, which is about 16% of the total body weight, and it forms a body surface area of about 1.5 to 2 meters square. The skin is having many important functions, the most important being providing non-specific immunity. But before going to the functions of the skin, we'll have a brief look into its structure. Okay. We have said that the cutaneous membrane of the skin along with its appendages form the integument. The cutaneous membrane is having two main layers, the outer epidermis and the inner dermis. And this epidermis is formed of stratified squamous epithelium, and the cells are called keratinocytes. And this epidermis consists of 5 layers. They are arranged from outside to inwards, that is from superficial to deep, as the outermost stratum corneum, then the stratum lucidum, the stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, and the innermost layer, the stratum germinativa. Here the peculiarity is that there are no blood vessels in the epidermis. The nourishment of epidermis is from the capillaries of dermis only. And all the layers of epidermis are present in the skin of all parts of the body. But there are some modifications, like the skin over the palms and soles. There, the skin is much thicker. Okay, so there are some modifications, but otherwise, these all 5 layers are present all over the body. Then comes the dermis, the inner layer. Here, many glands, hair follicles, few smooth muscles, then blood vessels, nerve endings, lymphatics, etc. are present. And it is formed of 2 layers, the superficial papillary layer and a deeper reticular layer. I'm not going into the anatomical peculiarities or structure of these layers, as you will study in detail in the anatomy classes. Okay. So the epidermis and dermis forms the cutaneous layer, and this epidermis is formed of the cells called keratinocytes, and dermis is formed of dense connective tissue proper, and below this cutaneous layer is the layer called hypodermis or the subcutaneous layer. And this layer is formed of loose connective tissue proper and adipose tissue. The appendages of the skin include hair follicles with hair, nails, and the exocrine glands like sweat glands, sebaceous glands, and mammary glands. The glands in the skin are mainly sweat glands and sebaceous glands. The sweat glands, they are present all over the skin except in eardrum, lips, and glans penis. And these sweat glands are of two types, eccrine glands and apocrine glands. Eccrine glands are also known as merocrine glands. The merocrine or eccrine glands are present in the body throughout. The merocrine or eccrine glands are present in the skin all over the body, and they are the usual sweat glands which are found to be more in number. These glands are simple tubular glands whose tubules are very long and coiled. It consists of two portions, a coiled part and a duct part. The coiled portion lies deeper in dermis and is formed of single layer of cuboidal or columnar epithelium, which are secretory in nature, and this epithelium secretes the sweat. The duct portion passes through the dermis and epidermis layers and is formed of two layers of cuboidal epithelial cells. The eccrine glands open out through sweat pores. The cells from these glands also contribute to regeneration of the skin following injury. Now the secretory activity of eccrine glands. Ever since birth, these glands are functional throughout the life. They secrete clear watery sweat which contains water, sodium chloride, urea and lactic acid. The secretion increases during increase in temperature and emotional conditions, and thus these glands regulate the temperature of the body by secreting the sweat. These glands are under nervous control, and stimulation of the sympathetic cholinergic nerve fibers causes the secretion of sweat. Apocrine glands. These glands are present only in certain areas of the body. That is, they are not distributed throughout the body, only in certain areas like pubis, axilla, around the anus, area of breast, etc. And these are also tubular coil structures having a coil portion and a duct portion. And the coil portion lies deeper in the dermis, but the duct, it opens into the hair follicle just above the opening of sebaceous gland. Now, the secretory activity of apocrine glands. These apocrine glands are non-functional till puberty. That is, they start functioning only from the adolescence period, and its function declines gradually in the old age. The secretion from these glands are thick and milky, which are odorless initially. And later, due to the development of microorganisms in this secretion, a characteristic odor develops in the region where these glands are present. So these apocrine glands impart the characteristic odor to the body. And the secretion from these glands increases only in emotional conditions. That is, unlike the eccrine glands, it will not increase with the rise in temperature, and hence it has no role in temperature regulation by secreting the sweat. And these glands are under hormonal control. That is, the adrenaline from the adrenal medulla causes secretion from the apocrine glands. And these glands are supplied by the sympathetic adrenergic fibers. The ceruminous glands in the external auditory meatus, ciliary glands in the eyelids, and mammary glands are modified apocrine glands. Now let us go through the differences between eccrine and apocrine sweat glands once again. First one is the distribution of these glands. The eccrine glands are seen throughout the body, whereas apocrine gland is limited to certain areas like axilla, pubis, umbilicus, etc. Eccrine glands open to the exterior through sweat pores, whereas apocrine glands open to the hair follicle. The period of functioning of eccrine glands are seen throughout the life, whereas apocrine glands begin to function only from puberty. The secretion of eccrine gland is clear and watery, whereas apocrine gland is thick and milky. Eccrine glands are having an important role in the regulation of body temperature, whereas apocrine glands are having no such role. The secretion of eccrine glands increases with rise in temperature and emotional situations, whereas apocrine gland secretion increases only during emotional conditions. The secretion from eccrine gland is under nervous control, and that from apocrine gland is under hormonal control. The nerve supply to eccrine gland is sympathetic cholinergic fibers, and that to the apocrine gland is sympathetic adrenergic fibers. Pheromones. These are the chemical substances which are secreted by the apocrine glands and are also known as vomeropherins. And when these pheromones are secreted by an organism, it is believed that they can produce some behavioral or physiological changes in other members of the same species. And they are mostly present in urine, vaginal fluid, and other secretions of the mammals. Sebaceous glands. Sebaceous glands are simple or branched, spherical or pear-shaped alveolar glands. See, the glands can be tubular or alveolar based on shape. Tubular glands are those glands who have ducts, which may be branched or unbranched, whereas alveolar glands are those glands having a sac-like portion, that is an enlarged lumen, which is secretory in nature, and they resemble the lung alveoli, hence the name alveolar glands. Okay, so these sebaceous glands are alveolar glands which are situated in the dermis of the skin at the side of the hair follicle. And these glands develop from hair follicles, and hence they are absent of the thick skin which is devoid of hair follicles. Structure of sebaceous glands. These spherical glands are covered by a connective tissue capsule, and the alveolar portion is lined by stratified epithelial cells. They open either at the hair follicles or directly to the skin. That is, they open to the neck of the hair follicle through a duct, and in some areas like face, lips, nipple, etc., they open directly to the exterior. Secretion of sebaceous glands. The sebaceous glands secrete an oily substance called sebum, which is formed by the liquefaction of alveolar cells, and they are poured out through the ducts either directly into the exterior or through the hair follicle. Composition of sebum. The sebum contains free fatty acids, triglycerides, squalene, sterols, waxes, paraffin, etc. Functions of sebum include antibacterial and antifungal actions because of its free fatty acid content, and its lipid nature helps to keep the skin smooth and oily, preventing from the injuries due to dryness. And the lipids also help to prevent heat loss from the body, especially in cold climates. Activation of sebaceous glands at puberty. These glands are inactive till puberty, and during their adolescence, they will be activated by sex hormones in both males and females. So, during this adolescent age, due to the increased secretion of sex hormones, especially dihydroepiandrosterone, the sebaceous glands will be stimulated suddenly. So, either due to the overactivity of sebaceous glands or due to the obstruction in the ducts of sebaceous glands, there can be a localized inflammatory condition of the skin called acne, characterized by pimples on face. The color of our skin depends on two factors: pigmentation of skin and the hemoglobin content in blood. Pigmentation of skin. The skin color is because of the brown pigment called melanin, synthesized by melanocytes present in the stratum germinativum and stratum spinosum of epidermis from the amino acid tyrosine via dihydroxyphenylalanine. And its deficiency will lead to a congenital disorder called albinism. The second factor which determines the color of skin is hemoglobin in blood. Amount and nature of hemoglobin which circulates in the cutaneous blood vessels have an important role in determining the skin color. When the hemoglobin content decreases, skin becomes pale, and when the blood rushes to the skin becomes pink, and when there is more reduced hemoglobin, the skin becomes bluish, a condition called cyanosis. Functions of skin. Skin has lot many functions of which protection is the prime and foremost function. It is the outer covering that forms protective layer on the body and provides protection from bacteria and other toxic substances, protection from mechanical glow and ultraviolet radiation. Skin covers the organs of the body and protects from having a direct contact with the external environment, thereby preventing any bacterial infection. Also, the lysozyme secreted from the skin destroys the bacteria. The keratinized stratum corneum offers resistance against toxic chemicals, and therefore, in loss of skin in conditions like burns, it leads to severe sepsis. And as the skin is loosely placed over the underlying organs and tissues, the mechanical impact of any blow to the skin is not transmitted to the underlying tissues. The skin protects the body from UV radiation of sunlight by increasing the production of melanin, which absorbs UV rays. Next is the temperature regulation. Secretion of sweat contributes significantly to temperature regulation, and the lipid kernel in the sebum prevents the loss of heat from the body in colder conditions. Next is sensory function. Skin is the largest sense organ in the body, which has many nerve endings formed as the cutaneous receptors. And these receptors receive impulses of touch, pain, pressure, or temperature sensation and convey these sensations to the brain via afferent nerves. Next function is the synthesis of vitamins. In exposure to sunlight, by the action of UV rays on cholesterol, vitamin D3 is synthesized in skin. Next is water and electrolyte balance. The sweat secreted from the skin contains water and salt, and therefore excessive sweating can lead to dehydration and sodium deficiency. Also, hormones like aldosterone have a role in water and electrolyte secretion. So the skin regulates the water balance and electrolyte balance by excreting water and salts through the sweat. Next function is the role of skin in non-specific or innate immunity. The keratinized stratum corneum, beta deferens, lysozyme, and Langerhans cells in the epidermis are all having a role in maintaining the non-specific or innate immunity of the body. Next is the role of skin as a central blood reservoir. The cutaneous vascular bed can accommodate a considerable quantity of blood, and hence, in case of emergencies, by the construction of cutaneous blood vessels, the blood can be diverted to vital organs, and this it can act as a central blood reservoir. Next is the excretory function. The skin excretes small quantities of waste materials like urea, salts, fatty substances, etc. Next is absorptive function. Many lipid soluble substances are absorbed through the skin. Also, it can act as a route for drug administration, especially topical ointments where the absorption through skin is poor but a local effect is needed. Their topical ointments has a role, and there are also subcutaneous implants, etc. They are as different modes of drug administration. Next is the secretory function. The skin has sweat and sebaceous glands, as we have studied, and the sweat glands secrete sweat, and sebaceous glands secrete sebum. And this sweat is having a role in regulating the body temperature and water balance, whereas sebum helps to keep the skin smooth and moist. Then another role of skin is uh, in the diagnosis of diseases. Many signs of systemic diseases can be recorded from the skin surface as the degree of anemia, jaundice, cyanosis, etc. So these are all the important functions of skin. Thank you for your patient listening, and all of you please take care to be safe. Thank you.